Actually, my daughter also was using the same. So
Okay. 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 That explains. That explains. That explains. Okay.
actually, I have network issues, sir. I
Okay.
may get disconnected
No
anytime.
problem. No
So
problem.
as long as
No,
I can hear, listen to the lecture, I will listen.
perfectly fine. You can, even if you get disconnected, you can rejoin if you can. The idea is, in this particular session, everybody has the liberty of going through their based on their considerations. And as I said, in this particular class, we always encourage people to share things, to add things. The idea is to get perspectives to be able to get our understanding better.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Okay.
Sir, you
Feroz,
are co-host now.
okay, perfect. I can start. Uh, we are going to be doing remittances today. Hang on. This is a new laptop I'm operating with, so it is okay. Is everybody able to see the slide and hear my voice? Can everybody see the slide and hear my voice?
Yes, please.
Okay. And does the slide move in
Yes.
your... Okay, perfect. Perfect. So we are talking about remittances today. This is unit 48, and it's a very, it brings out. So if I look at I picked up this, slide, a World Bank figure on top remittances among, and mind you, it says low and middle income countries, 2023. This is a World Bank statistic. And interestingly, China has also been put in a low and middle income country. I'm sure there is some way they have calculated. Now, if you look at this figure, we already read the fact that India today has the largest diaspora or migrant population in the world, standing at about 31 million, in which there are people of Indian origin. And if you look at history of Indian migrants, it started off with the traders, and then they were indentured labor, which the British took to various plantation and so on and so forth. And there were multiple waves of migration. Now, this is a World Bank figure. Now, there are multiple readings of this particular thing. There might be one reading which said that so many migrants, diasporas, people of Indian origin are sending back money to India. But there are multiple other readings that one can do on this. Another reading one can do is the fact that because of a lack of social security net, people have to go out to remit money back to their households. In fact, during the slide, hang on, somebody, so can we expect class of MDI 009 and 10? Voice is a little low. Sanjeev, uh, can
Yes,
are
sir.
the other people able to hear me, or for everybody the voice is low? Hang on. Just a minute. Let me see if my, as
No,
I
your
said,
voice is clear, sir.
just a minute. Let me increase. Sanjeev, is it better? Sanjeev, is it better?
I feel
Sir,
it's
it's
a,
Sanjeev, is it better?
sir. I
sir,
I
it,
think it's the same at the same level.
Uh, I'm just trying to increase the volume. Sanjeev, is it
Okay,
better?
okay, okay, sir.
Okay. Is it better?
Better is okay.
Okay. Okay. As I said, I am using a new laptop, so the volume was low.
Now,
Vidya,
now it's okay, sir.
okay, perfect. Vijay, what is MDI 009 and 10? I am, offhand, I'm not able to figure that out.
It's MA classes, sir.
Yeah, it's an MA class. What is the, haven't we done? Oh, okay. 009 and 10 are, we have reached till 006. I think then we'll start on 9 and 10 subsequently. Vijay? Let me come back to the screen. Okay. So as I was saying, one reading is the fact that there is this much high amount of remittance which is happening, but there is another reading which could be read as a there is a lack of social security, that and it also is quite possible, it also one of the readings is the fact that there are a lot of non-resident Indians, basically people are going out to earn, and the fact is it could also be that there is a lack of opportunity, employment opportunity, so that the people are going out and sending money back home. So there are multiple readings on the same chart, and if you notice, China is almost one third of India in this World Bank status. Considering the fact China is as much as a population of India, which clearly shows that Chinese are able to create more employment opportunities. It could be one, or it could be fact that the Chinese families are going en masse outside, so they don't need to remit to any member of the family back home. Remember, people of Indian origins who would have gone possibly may not remit back home, because the whole family might have been there and the whole setup has changed. It's only people who go as migrants for employment or otherwise remit money back home. Unless, for example, there's a friend of mine who's a US citizen, whose children are American citizens, and his parents are here. So in all likelihood, for healthcare, he might be remitting money back home. So how this remittance comes is something that needs to be researched. This is the World Bank figures. As I said, when I look at the Indian figures, RBI instead, see here, World Bank talks about 125 billion, and this is 2023. RBI talks about 107 billion. So there's almost a 40 billion difference. How this has worked out, I do not know. Remember also, one of the ways it can be read is RBI would typically look at the legal remittances. Remember, remittances are legal and not legal, in the sense not legal channels. There are more than legal channels through which remittances happen. So, and if you notice, one of the surveys, RBI post-COVID remittances, US emerges as the primary contributor. We have another chart where we have where it is broken up as to where all these remittances are coming from. So there are multiple readings. So inevitably, whenever you have data, always remember that data would be based on considerations, and many a times those considerations are not apparent. So one needs to find out more before analyzing any data. Now, also we are knowing that Indian Americans have become a political force. They have been doing extremely well in the US, in Europe, and the worldwide. In fact, today the Democrat candidate happens to be an Indian American, though she also has an African father and Indian mother. But you could say she's an Indian American. The vice president candidate from the Republicans is an Indian. As I said, one is a Tamil, other is a Telugu. So obviously, the Indian profile in America has gone up, and so has their economic strength. Median US household by ethnic groups. This is a 2018. This is again another data set I picked up, and if you notice, Indians are almost, look at Indians, look at Taiwanese, look at Chinese, and look at whites. Indians are almost double the median income of whites. Now, inevitably, those Indians would have families back home if they are remitting money, because, and again, now, another reading to this is the fact that is it only people from global south who are remitting money? Are there no remittances happening in global north? We will, during the presentation, we'll see that also. More often than not, it is, it is kind of stereotype that migration only happens from global south to global north, and these guys then remit money back home. Let's look at, there is a chart in this presentation. We will see whether it is true or not. So this is in terms of median income. So let's quickly come to the objectives. Again, as I said, most of the times I pick up information from your self-learning module, but many a times I pick up more information from outside, which I feel is better in terms of explaining a concept. Use of remittance, what's the use of international remittance, what's the role of existing policy, modes of transfer. So these are the objectives. 800 million, about 1 in 9 people worldwide live in household receiving international remittance. So world today is no longer, homogeneous in terms of ethnic segments, in terms of, purity of races or something. It's a very diverse world. In some countries, more than 30% of all children have at least one parent who works and lives away from home. And inevitably, as we have seen during various units, people move or migrate basically for a better life or for perceiving a better life. It may not be a better life, but it's a perception. In 2022, remittance to low and middle income companies surpassed 647 billion, forecasted to reach 656 billion, 3 times the official development assistance. In fact, remittances have become a major source of, development or countries' economies. We will see that there are certain countries who have economies in which remittances are, in double digits of GDP. India itself has, remittances, which is about 3% of its GDP, which also becomes bad in a particular way, because suddenly if there is a conflict in a particular part of the world where there's a major remittance happens and there is a disruption, then the economy will take a hit. As we had seen during the Gulf crisis, there was a lot of people moving back and forth. And today world, there is events are happening on the fly. So if you look at this top recipient countries, this chart I picked up in US dollars, there is Belgium, there is Germany, there is France, the global north. France, almost 1.1% of GDP in 2023 is coming out of remittances. So, this concept that we have, or the stereotype that we have, that remittances only happen in global south, is incorrect. And if you notice, Guatemala has 19.3% of its GDP. Philippines 9.2%, India 3.4%, Mexico 3.7%. Look at China, 0.3%. Now, this will be able to take a shock if it happens somewhere. Uzbekistan, 17.9%. Now, these are very vulnerable states, assuming there is a conflict or there is uncertainty, political uncertainty in any part, it hits the economy. So let's start with defining what is remittance. Is a non-commercial transfer of money by a foreign worker, a member of the diaspora community, or a citizen with familial ties abroad for household income in their home country or homeland. There are multiple definitions. In fact, the definition which is given in your SLM was a little confusing, so I did not pick up that definition. I picked up this definition by World Bank as a part of the earning which a migrant worker sends back to family members in the country of origin. Simple. Includes cash and non-cash items that flow through formal channels or through informal channels. So there we could also have legal and illegal, though legal could be formal and informal, whereas illegal is totally separate. Whenever money is sent, even through informal channels, they are not illegal unless there is a government definition of these channels being illegal. Otherwise, they are formal and informal channels, such as money or goods carried. So a lot of times, even gifts are given, which is in the form of a remittance. When a gift is given, that is also a remittance. If the transfers are in the form of loans, these are not considered as remittance. The valuation of remittance received is done by considering market value of the kind. So a lot of kind is done. Before India liberalized its economy and its tax regime, a lot of remittances came in terms of kind. People, whenever they used to travel duty free, Dubai, they used to carry things. Subsequently, of the economic liberalization, things became available out here. From the website of UNDESA, I picked up 8 facts about remittances. 1 in 9 people are supported by funds. What migrants send back home represent about 15% of what they earn. Remain expensive to send. Remittance still remain expensive to send. Money received is key in helping out millions out of poverty. So obviously, money is remitted because of either lack of economic opportunity or not enough earnings back home. Remittance can help with at least 7 of the SDGs, self-development goals, what the UN, sustainable development goals, what the UN has talked about. Half of the money goes straight to rural areas where world poorest live. Times more important than international aid and discounting. UN is working to facilitate remittances. So these are some facts I picked out of the UNDESA site. What is remittance? Again, if the cash remittance are in any foreign currency, exchange value of the cash remittance in Indian rupees are arrived. Today, Indian banks allow NRIs or PIOs, OICs to open accounts. Moreover, the amount of remittance considered both by remittance through formally recorded channels as well as through informal channels. We'll look at what are the informal channels also. So 50s to 70s contribution of GDP remittance was mere 0.3. Oil boom Middle East attracted a large number of unskilled and contrary to migrant-related laws of Western countries, Gulf countries do not permit any ownership. Hence, most of these money was sent back home. Increase of remittances during 70s and 90s contributed to about 1%. Post 90, this increased to about 3%, which continues to be about 3.4%. About 62 billion. This is an older figure. In 2017, we are talking about 100 billion. For India, top 10 remitting countries, this was an older figure, 2018, as I showed you in the news item. Today, US has become the largest. And the fact is because United Arab Emirates, which was about 26% in 2018, has gone down, also could be a reading that a lot of people who were actually traveling to the Gulf are now moving to US. In fact, one of our students did collaborate that the fact that a lot of our cousins who were initially going to the Gulf are today going to the US and Europe. So, so obviously there is a change of migration. Possibly it is because of the fact that Indians cannot get citizenship in the Gulf or acquire property. People are looking at US and Europe as destinations. So that is the top 10 remittance countries 2018 figure. Mechanism of remittance. India has had a less active approach earlier. With explosion rise, Government of India revised its approach. Foreign Exchange Control Act was replaced the Foreign Exchange Management Act of 2000. Formal remittance enacted to deal with So there is something called an informal channel like Hawala. A lot of people might have heard about it. In case you have not ever heard about it, Hawala is an informal channel. Remember, it's not illegal, it's an informal channel. There are places in the world where Hawala is illegal.
Sir,
Yeah.
so sometime a person sitting abroad delivers in terms of some material or money in that country to another person, and back home that person delivers some money or some material to that
Correct.
family. Is
Correct.
it a part of remittance or hawala?
It is a part of see, hawala is also remittance. This is a person to person transfer. So I give it to a friend some money who is traveling back home, and that person travels back home and gives the money to my family. Now that is remittance. Though it will be
Sir,
an informal channel, possibly it will not be accounted for.
sir,
Yeah. But
Sir,
sir,
if it
my
is,
It
sorry,
will also a danger process usually.
yes, Swadesh, tell.
Yeah, sir. Our people, many of them in UAE, most of them in UAE, they have very good relation. They given advancely 2-3 months salary to that hundi.
Okay.
Hundi. They will call as a hundi. If I
Hundi.
put a money in hundi, they will give a Indian currency INR at their hometown. That will
Okay.
very easy, but they giving good amount of money also, sir. Big
Okay.
good bank rate. I mean, that is the
Okay.
usually process. But recently, many people are cheated in this process in Telangana, sir.
Perfect. See, because it is unregulated and because it is based on trust, more often than not, there will always be chances that, it's like, Domingos, just a minute. It is like that unless, you are sure. See, for example, banks are always collateraled by the government, whereas these Hawala dealers work more on trust. So obviously there might be some black sheep which could lead to loss of money. So this, you are absolutely right. Yes, Domingos, you wanted to ask something.
No, sir.
Domingos?
Yes, sir. It's mistake. Mistake. No, no, sir. I don't.
Okay, you had raised your hand.
Yes.
Okay. So,
Good.
Inevitably, Gurpreet, now what happens if let's say in Canada, somebody was to give you Canadian dollars. Now,
sir,
as soon as you bring it in India and then try and convert, remember
sir,
today you can go to money exchanges and convert a certain amount of dollars without any, or certain amount of foreign currency without any hassle. You need to give an ID proof. But if there is more money which gets transferred, then obviously it comes on the radar of the money taxing authorities. Hawala, what it does is, Hawala channels, what they do is, Hawala channels, typically you give it in a foreign currency and they will, take that money and transfer it in the Indian currency and give it in India in Indian currency. So you do not have to, work out the transfer. A lot of times people abroad give it to their friends, say for example dollars, which can be then kept out here, and when the person again goes, he can use the same dollars to spend money. Gurpreet, so there are multiple ways how this money can go.
right, sir, right, please.
It could also be the fact that if there is a item, a gift, for example a mobile phone, let's say an iPhone. So a person gives an iPhone which is brought in India, and the Indian home then can sell the iPhone in Indian rupees and take that money and use it as remittance. That is also remittance.
Clear, sir.
Okay. So various mediums of remittance transfer exist, such as an international money order, money transfer organizations, bank information, informal channels. Transfer of money through formal channels includes demand draft, mail transfer, traveler checks, international money orders. All these things are today you can transfer through SWIFT. For example, the Indian banks are giving, facility for NRIs, OICs to open their accounts. You need to have a process, and obviously then remittance can come in. Telegraphic transfers over SWIFT, fax, email, electronic transfers, money trading organizations, ATM withdrawal from sender accounts abroad, electronic money transfer. So things have become much easier. However, it is still very difficult to transfer money. For example, now, there is an artisan or a low-skilled worker who has moved from some small village or town. Now, for for that person, identities and this transfer becomes difficult. And in such cases, people then use the informal channels like Hawala. Plus, the fact is, because the governments tax all these transactions, for example, if you withdraw money, if you get money in foreign currency, there is a tax on it. So inevitably, the Hawala channels become a better option because there is no identities and so on and so forth. It's a different, and that's why people go for that. Since 1990, remittance infrastructure has seen good development, existing banks, a good number of non-banking institutions, Western Union is there, MoneyGram, and so on and so forth. Remittance operated by commercial bank, financial, post office, government authorized exchange bureaus. There are all these exchange bureaus which are there. You can go transfer a certain amount of foreign exchange. You can do that without much ado. Post office, for example, has partnered with Western Union. Post office are there across the rural countryside. Informal remittance, long history of existence. See, inevitably, remember the fact that Indian traders, Indians have also been into trading. Traditionally, they were not traders like the Arabs, but the fact is trading did happen. And when trading did happen, money was exchanged. It is active among people living outside the home, can be legal or illegal, easy, accessible system. Inevitably, people will go with whatever is easily accessible. And that is why, unless the regimes or the states or the governments bring out, continuously revise, existing things to make it easier, people will find out ways to do it. In the present context, informal remittance systems are used not among about traders, but among various settlements, both for legal and illegal. And remember, there are always, there is a legal, there is an illegal purpose, all kinds of things that existed throughout history. Three main ways: informal channel. First is transfer through a courier service or in hand. Gurpreet, what you were talking about, in hand transfer. Second is transfer in kind, and third is Hawala.
Sir,
Migrants used to send money through friends or relatives going back home. It's always been there. It's not a new thing. In-kind transfer is also significant and simple. And more often than not, people will figure out their own ways which is convenient to them. So look at the fact, if the government starts taxing, each channel, people will find out ways, and more often than not, it'll be informal. Because whenever you start, coming down heavily on formal things, people will go the informal or the illegal route. And we have seen the fact that when, states bring in border controls, people will move. So what they will do is then they will, go the smuggling route. They will get themselves smuggled. They will, all kinds of things will happen. And that is why the world would need to understand that there is a new world order in terms of continuous movement of people. Can buy precious goods like TV, mobile, and other products, sell it back in their homeland. This used to be there before the liberalization. A lot of this used to be there before liberalization, when things outside India were much cheaper, so people would get them inside, smuggle them inside, or they would give in-kind, products which were sold locally. Luckily, with liberalization, a lot of these things went away. Among the informal remittance, Hawala is the most popular, does not require physical money travel. It's operated by illegal structures where money is transferred. And remember, Hawala is not just an Indian phenomena, it is a global phenomena. It starts when someone who wants to send money contacts a Hawala agent, accepts the amount, type of currency to be sent, charges for the service, and the amount to be received by the recipient at the other end. So, it is there everywhere. Each country has this informal channel by which money can go, money can move. Today, with bitcoins and e-currency, things can happen. A lot of times these are in a way informal channels. The dark web is a way where for example, all ransomware happens in bitcoins. So a lot of illegal trade today happens in Bitcoins. Hawala brokers after agreement provides a code to transfer receipt of money to the and the host land sends instruction of the homeland pays the amount to the designated recipient. So it's a channel which works on trust. There are Hawala dealers which have been doing all this while. Hang on. Uni money. Swadesh, what is this uni money? Explain. Swadesh. Swadesh, are you there? We shall get hold of Swadesh. Usage of information system has many regions speedier than the formal banking system. Transfer takes not more than 12 hours. I'm not sure whether it's still taking 12 hours or the banking system is taking more time. The banking things have become much more streamlined. Transfer rate is extremely less than other forms. That could be a possibility. Transfer rate is extreme. So for the commission is less than the formal channels. Also, for example, difficult for people living in rural areas to have a. So, for example, I had to send some money to Nepal for education. The whole process is so difficult in terms of you need, or there are only certain banks which would directly remit, the other banks would not do it. And I was thinking about the fact that India and Nepal have an open regime in terms of movement. You do not require a visa. In fact, you do not require a passport also to travel between India and Nepal. And yet the difficulty of remitting money to or sending money to Nepal is difficult. So, for example, Nepalese who are working in India obviously will use non-banking channels to remit money because the banking channels is a certain complication. Hawala does not require written documentation. Entire process works on a trust between sender and agent. Hawala dealers do not require any identification except code, cash carry on and kind of also enable a migrant workers to help overcome the hectic system of formal money transfer. So inevitably, as I said, whenever you create formal mechanisms which are complex, people will pick up mechanisms which are simpler. While informal remittances provide migrant workers means for remitting to the family members, largely undocumented, anonymous nature of informal make it susceptible to illegal, which we know is always there. So the trick is to keep balancing to make sure that you try and track the illegal and try and make the formal channels so easy that more and more people try and use it. The Indian government also promotes formal remittances by increasing the efficiency and cost effectiveness of banking channels. So obviously, the pressure is today on the state to try and make things formal, easier. Reserve Bank, massive expansion of bank branches, 70s and 80s, and allowed non-banking financial companies to do. In Saudi Arabia, for example, Hawala transactions are illegal. UAE Hawala brokers have to register. Hawala brokers need to provide information on remitters and beneficiaries. I don't think so. It is there in India. There are enough Hawala brokers which are working. Whether today with new banking laws and the efficiency, they are still profitable, I do not know, but I'm sure the informal channels are working. Almost all data sources depend on two dominant sources sent from family maintenance, and second is local withdrawal. So most of these are documented in terms of the RBI or the banking and the other formal channels. Financial year 2012, this is a very old data, 71 billion remittances, 49 came in the form of remittance for family maintenance. As I said, whenever we look at remittance data, there are multiple readings to the data. 20% deposited in bank, 3% investment in land and property. So obviously, it shows clearly there is a lack of a welfare or a safety net and people need, and there's a lack of opportunities in terms of employment, or those employment opportunities are not earning enough for a family to sustain itself. And inevitably, we know that when people migrate or one of the parents migrate, it affects the dynamics of the family, it affects the dynamics of the children. We have seen in the case of Philippines how when women migrate for caregiving function, how it affects the children. Hang on. Okay. Migration remittance, significant link between migration and development, reducing poverty, decrease every life from external shock. NSSO surveys on employment discusses 12 purposes for which household uses remittance. Primarily used for remittances both urban and rural area, 95 in rural and 93% in urban. Household consumer expenditure. So obviously people do not have basic money for running a household. Within a household consumer expenditure, a very high proportion have reported spending on food items. So as I said, our basic, one of the readings is that basic food security is not there. And this becomes a direct thing in terms of policymakers. Significant proportion of households in both rural and urban areas use remittance for healthcare, which is again an area, and we've seen it multiple times that healthcare becomes the difference between a middle class and poverty is one major illness, is what the common saying out here in India. And I'm sure it will be there for quite a lot of the global south. So the policy makers need to stress more in terms of healthcare. One of the main uses of remittance was education of household members, 31% of rural and 34% of urban household remittance for education of household members. So education needs, access to good quality education, accessible education, negligible portion of remittance used for entrepreneurial purpose. So this was the NSSO survey. Impact of remittances at different level. And now remittances also impact at different level. One is family remittance, broadly works in two dimensions, provides economic support back home. Second, it shows security and maintenance to the migrant who intends to come back. So inevitably, most of the time, these people are migrating to earn money and then come back. So they are still migrants. They are not diasporas in terms of moving. Provide security at both level in case of external shock, loss of employment. And that is where, Swadesh has been talking about, especially in the Gulf, when COVID happened, a lot of people lost their jobs, didn't get it. Now that is where foreign policy comes in, diplomacy comes in to try and get these people, and they didn't get wages. A lot of people didn't get wages. And this is not an Indian thing, it's a migrant thing. Then there is community remittance in the form of social remittance, can change social structures, cultural practices. Remember the fact that when people travel, they see and learn things. So for example, even when, let's say, a person is remitting money back home and that money is used, let's say, for girls' education, now there is a social change which is happening. There's a change on social structures, there's a change on values, enable girls to compete in schooling rather than having to leave. And in fact, when we come to the trafficking, modules, we will see large amount of girl trafficking happening because girls are dropping out of schools. There is not money in the family, there's poverty. Negative results can occur when migrants return with non-traditional attitudes that can cause disharmony. Intergenerational and kinship ties may be permanently dislocated in situations which migration is a long-term strategy for households. Inevitably, migration leads to many effects. And even if one parent, so even if you look at local migration, where people are migrating from one state to another, in the absence of, let's say, a earning member, which typically is a father, the households, the mother then has to take care of the household, the children suffer. There are psychological cases, it happens on a physiological case. There were multiple things which happen. Settlement process reduces the remittance to the country of origin. Intangible flows emanating from India, such as transfer of knowledge, ideas, expertise, professional and scientific collaborations, dissemination of political or religious views, exert more influence on India as well. Now, all these things, and today with social media, with internet, things move back and forth. Many NRIs in turn are deeply engaged in political advocacy, social movements in India, religious transnationalism, an example of intangible flows. So, in fact, a lot of NRIs are stuck into a India of the 80s, whereas India is moved into the 21st century. There are all these active back and forth negotiations which are happening. Levitt and Lambanais also introduced two terms to illustrate the development potential of social remittances: scale up and scale out. Can scale up from a local level impact to affect regional and national scale, and scale out to affect other domains. So, for example, Green Revolution in Punjab, for example, got the mean income to rise, but created other social problems. All these led to a lot of migration from Punjab into Canada and the US, for example, North America, which has led to other aspects. There are aspects of transnationalism, religious movements, political movements which come back into it. All these things go back and forth. They scale up and scale out. So, and everything, it could be looked at only from an economic point, but economic can also affect other areas. And that is why social remittances become a very important area to study. Okay, summing up, migration has potential of development, explosive increase in remittance to South Asia, contributing to social development, economic betterment, reduction. In fact, all these remittances are leading to a better quality of life for a lot of people in a lot of poorer states of India. Today, for example, people, earlier it was the South states which were sending migrants to the Gulf area. Today, UP, Bihar, and a lot of northern states are sending. In fact, there is an internal migration as well as external migration. Strengthens national economy, increases in sustainability of the suppressed sections of society. There are some references. I picked up three. Social Remittances, Revised Journal of Ethnic Migration. So, in fact, if you go on to UNDESA site or the Migration Network site, you can pick up some data in terms of, migration and remittances. And in fact, the next unit, that unit 49 that we are doing, is on diaspora entrepreneurship. So how that is also contributing. Let me stop this presentation. Let me put on my video. Hi, guys. Any questions? Hang on, there are two messages. Economic recitation, wartime, FX remittances. Now, Sudesh, what is this uni money that you talked about?
Sir, earlier it was a UAE exchange. One
Okay.
Indian person, he was started that company at destination. It will spread. It is 1990s. It's very big. Some people called as a Dubai Bank. It is.
Okay. Okay.
Gulf Bank, Dubai Bank. It's named generally in public.
Okay. Okay.
That's changed into Uni money. Present that was existing in Uni money. They follow RBI guidelines, everything. Yeah.
Uni money trustworthy. Okay. Excellent customer support. I simultaneously went on to Google to check out excellent customer support and that reliable. Okay. Uni money. It is Uni money. MONI.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you.
I checked. I went on to Google to see that is the craziest part today. So we could typically simultaneously pick up, and that's what I said. This sessions typically are great ways to get perspectives in, get multiple perspectives in, because inevitably, academics is not about right, wrong, good, bad. It's about multiple perspectives which allow us to see things from different angles.
Yeah,
Any,
sir. Remittances is a very good subject. Today, the way of teaching is important in migration. The money. Yeah, sir.
absolutely, absolutely.
Because
Again, as
of,
I said, when I look at remittances, I can read it in multiple ways. Sending stones for their family, gold rubies, we can consider as remittances. Absolutely, Domingos. Stones has a value, has an economic value. So even if people transfer precious stones, remember precious stones are an economic security, and that can be in times of stress, can be exchanged for cash. So it is a form of remittances. So any goods, even consumer goods, stones, of course, are equivalent to have a value in terms of cash. So in India, for example, and I'm not sure about Mozambique, but in India, for example, gold has always been a form of security which has been given during the process of the institution of marriage. That typically that norm about giving gold is a security. Today, that has changed into possibly a flat or a FD, fixed deposit, but gold always has been a staple in terms of security for the newlywed couple, or for people in terms of security, cash security. So inevitably, when there is a crisis in the family, there is a health emergency or other kind of emergencies, gold has always been a stable form.
Sir,
Uh, yes, Gurpreet.
sir,
Yes.
as one of my fellow classmates said, it's very interesting topic, and you take it very nicely, sir. Sir, just one information sharing with the fellow students. In my school days, the Bajaj Chetak scooter was in scarcity, and the persons who were sitting abroad, they received the dollars and pounds in the post offices, and that was the first thing I saw as a remittance differences. So secondly, there is a movement of money, reverse trend now, movement of money from India or particularly from Punjab to the developing countries. The families sitting abroad, they are thinking of that their property, houses, and land will be grabbed by the local people. So they sell out their land and coming to the taking all the money and all family members to the North America. This is a usual trend and unfortunate. And this is very, very unfortunate trend for the state, as it will affect the socio-economic effects and demography too. How you will read it?
So, Gurpreet, now we need to understand another aspect. We have been talking about transnationalism. The concept of a state or a country that we have looked at in the past, today people are looking at, let's say, a concept of an Indian is no longer restricted to the geographical boundaries of India. I might
Sure.
be an Indian Canadian, and I have interest in businesses in Canada, but at the same time, I could have business interest in India, US, Africa. Today, people are not confined to geographical boundaries. The whole concept of transnationalism, and this basically started in the 80s with globalization, where the transportation became faster. Today, if you see, you are 24 by 7 connected with media. You can do a voice call, you can do a video call, you are always connected. So every particular individual and family looks at what is best for the family or individual. But that's not a new thing. Remember, we were talking about migrants, European migrants to Argentina. Argentina came out with this policy whereby they thought that if they attract Europeans, their development will become faster. So they started giving job opportunities at a higher rate to Europeans, and a lot of Europeans from Italy and surrounding areas came and settled in Argentina. At the same time, they took dual citizenship to have a security background, a backup. But the fact is, every individual or a family today will look at what is best for that individual or family. There is no unfortunate part about it. So if India or Indian state of Punjab is not able to offer a security to a resident of Punjab, that person will go wherever he gets that opportunity in terms of multiplying his wealth, getting a better life, or environment for doing a viable business. So it's an open competition today, Gurpreet.
Sure.
So one way, see, look at the fact, look at what is happening in India today. Today in 2023-24, a large amount of Indian students are moving out to study, including we have one of the largest student base in the Gulf, because they are able to get better. Can you imagine 40,000 medical students were being educated in Ukraine in medicine? It was only when the war happened that we got to find out that there are 40,000 students. Now, obviously, if the state or your country is not able to give that opportunities to any section of society, the students will find them wherever they are able to get it. It's a transnational world in a particular way. And everybody will have their individual strategies to get the best out of the system. And if you are not able to create the formal legal channels, simple formal legal channels, then people will go by the informal illegal channels. That is also a case. Remember, it's a brave new world which is happening. So look at the fact, today I was reading about the Ambani wedding continues for another 2 months in London. And remember, Sanjeev, we were talking about this soft diplomacy. The Reliance Group is doing this soft diplomacy in worldwide. Otherwise, how long can a wedding go? Basically, it's a PR event.
Sir.
Is there a limit to remittance in India? Country-wise, gold is limit. So if you go through a formal channel like a banking transaction, there is no limit in terms. There is a limit of how much currency you can carry out. For example, if you're traveling from here to Nepal, you can only carry 25,000 rupees. When you are taking dollars out also, there is a limit. You can Google it and find out what is the limit. Getting in through a formal channel is unlimited because everything is accounted for. You'll be taxed for it.
Yes, sir.
Manish. Okay. So inevitably, there are these rules which keep coming in. You can go on the RBI site. They will keep giving you these rules, or you can Google them from individual banks. So today, for example, today with transnationalism and working as a digital diaspora. So for example, today I can be working for a US company and I could be paid in dollars, or I could be paid equivalent in Indian rupees in my bank account. I would have to fill a form and saying that this is what it is, and then I have to declare it in my tax returns, and it is fine. Getting in is absolutely no problem. Getting in is absolutely not problem. Getting out, there is a limit. How much you can take out. Any other question? Reduce remittance cost. Is there reduce remittance cost? Is there a possibility? See, again, the fact is more often than not, these are policy decisions. And that is where the diasporas create political pressures on government because of the diaspora's pressure. And today the diaspora is economic and has a political clout. So when diasporas push, for example, in the recent union budget on property taxing, they have done something which everybody is shouting about. That could have consequences, where they have removed the depreciation or the indexing system of measuring property cost, they have got a uniform taxation. There have been a lot of pressure again. And again, today, remember, diasporas create a phenomenal amount of pressure because they have not only a political heft, they have the economic heft. And that what becomes interesting. Any other question?
Sir, our concern is if go purchase a flight ticket, there is a 18% GST. To
Correct.
travel in bus and take a passport even, take everything.
There's a
That
GST.
is the sense we are demanding this. If reduce the
inevitably-
remittance cost, everybody can follow the
Correct.
yeah
See,
legal
inevitably,
pathways.
So inevitably there is this pressure, and you know what would typically happen? Inevitably, what would typically happen is this funds will start moving away, because when the state keeps imposing all these taxes, people will start parking funds where they will not have to go. You look at how the businesses have all the the Bitcoin and the next generation technology business have moved base from India into Dubai, where there is a very simple tax regime. Today, with transnationalism, the pressure is on state and the countries to get laws which are simple and conducive for businesses. Similar with money. So now, for example, remittance are coming in. There could be a chain migration where the whole families, what Gurpreet was talking about, all these families moving on to US. Today, for example, Canada has the largest proportion of Sikh population outside Punjab, almost 3%, 2.1 or 3%. Sikh population is in Canada. So inevitably, people will people will find out individual strategies wherever they are able to maximize returns in terms of economy and social. So states would have to, rise to that occasion, and we have seen across the world, it's always the states are a little, backward because there is a bureaucracy. The bureaucracy works slowly. People are much faster in their connections and work. So the states worldwide, and it's not an Indian phenomenon, it's a worldwide phenomena, that the states are not able to, are grappling and scrambling to figure out what is the best way to do it. And with countries like India, it's always a difficult task because of the numbers, huge numbers, and the diversity. So for all that criticism we can talk about India and the Indian government, remember it's a huge numbers and the diversity and the pressures to be able to negotiate all these. So I guess that's where the political, thing comes in. Yes, Karan. Karanveer, you want to ask something? 50,000 USD in India, it's bank limit per month. So that's unlimited almost. 50,000 is a fair amount of limit. Domingos has just shared this 50,000 USD in India, it's bank limit per month. So that's almost about 5 lakhs, 6 lakhs. 6 lakhs US dollars. That's a fair amount of money. Karanveer, you wanted to ask something?
No, sir.
तुमने हाथ raise किया था. You had raised your hand. Okay. So if there is no other question, we have reached 4 o'clock. Next time, next Saturday, we are doing diaspora entrepreneurship. And in fact, the whole concept of diaspora itself is moving towards transnational, individuals. There is an element of transnationalism. There is obviously the diaspora studies is still there, but there is a new element of study known as the transnationalism study. So we are going to be looking at diaspora entrepreneurship. That's the SLM 49. And have a nice weekend, a nice week ahead. We meet next Saturday at 3 o'clock with Unit 49. Have a nice week, and Gurpreet, have a nice day in Toronto. Gurpreet,
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much.
Bye. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.